All right, Bulls and Bears, we're back with another dose. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate you being here. Got a lot to catch up on. I think I missed yesterday. I didn't put out a video yesterday. A lot of news to get caught up on, the economy, everything else in between, the financial markets, you name it. I've got my little swamp cooler back here, hoping it's not too loud. It's like this mini, have you guys seen these for sale on Amazon and different places? Mini coolers are supposed to be mini air conditioners. Not what I expected, but it is making a slight cooler. Maybe I'd say maybe 5 degrees cooler if you sit right in front of it, and if you fill it with cold water. So the jury's still open. The jury's still out if it's a good purchase or not. I'll let you know after I use it for a few more days. I just got it. It's been in the 90s here, so I just got this thing to help me office while I'm doing videos, and I don't have an air conditioning unit. This is place here. This garage is not air conditioning, so thank you for those that support me. Maybe one day I'll make it to an air conditioned office. I'll actually have more room to do this type of thing. Let's talk about what's happening though with the economy. We see the bankers, the politicians, the powers that be, the central planners. They're out there trying to convince everybody that everything that's happening right now, the inflation that we're seeing, this is normal, and everything is on a nice path. People are seeing a relief with the 0.1% drop in inflation last month, and things are looking so well and so nice that we're going to have to start cutting rates, right? How's that for confidence in the markets? The markets and the economy, two completely different things, right? If you don't know, most of the market, most of the stocks are owned by the top 10%, about 90%, right? So it's not even split down the middle 50-50. It's 90% of stocks, close to 90% of stocks are owned by the top 10%. So when people try to say the economy is doing good and they point to the stock market, you just need to laugh at them, right? But hopefully you're still making money in the markets. If you've been in a 401k over the past 10 years, you've probably done pretty well. And lately, I've been shorting some stocks. I've been doing pretty well on those. Of course, the markets are closed today. Today's Sunday. I'll let you know how those play out during the week. I'm sensing some danger, and I'm sensing that the markets will be sensing some danger coming up here, and especially politically. We've got Joe Biden dropping out. Harris is now going to be the what do you want to call it? The nominee, um, right? Politically, I'm not sure how anyone would want to be excited about that, but there are some people excited about both sides, believe it or not. So both sides to me just look like a looming disaster, and we'll talk about that here in just a bit. But first, let's talk about Berkshire Hathaway. Sells about $1.5 billion worth of shares. Now we've been seeing the insiders sell pretty big sales, right? Bezos a couple years ago started selling, and it's ongoing. Berkshire Hathaway, of course, with Warren Buffett. We've seen other big CEOs, other big investors sell, but it's not as alarming as you might think. 1.48 billion seems like a big number, but when you look into it here, it was about just under 34 million shares of stock. Now, to put that into perspective, they still own about 999. So basically, yeah, they own about a billion shares, 999 million, close to a billion. Yeah. So not really a lot. So yeah, 40 million shares seems like a lot, but when you own a billion shares, that's not that much. But quick math is about 4%. So they sold about 4% of their Bank of America shares. So obviously not a huge warning sign, in my opinion. Maybe you feel different. Please let me know down in the comments what you think. But what does this tell us? I mean, this tells us that it looks like Warren Buffett and whoever decides what they're going to buy and sell at Berkshire Hathaway, I think it's Buffett, is not that concerned about what's coming, right? If you're really concerned, you're going to sell more than 4% of your stock. Now, we'll see if this continues to happen every month, and how much bigger the sales are getting, but we're only a few months out here until the next selection is made. And speaking of selections here, let's talk about this. Here's some of the optimism that's out there, and this is about what's coming up here in November. Trump says he'll end the inflation nightmare. Economists say Trumponomics could drive up prices. Well, let's just look at what happened over the time period from 1620, 60, a little bit tired, folks, 2016 to 2020. Did prices go down? No, prices went up. Now, it's not as bad as from 2020 to what we're seeing now here in 2024, but it doesn't mean that it was good. Just because something's bad now doesn't mean that it was good back then. Prices went up back then, right? Inflation went up. Prices didn't go down. We didn't have deflation, right? We need deflation, right? Imagine 2008, the housing bubble, if it just kept going. What if we didn't have any deflation in the housing market, right? When I talk about deflation, I'm not talking about the money supply or the money creation or the money printing, right? That's the whole separate story that causes inflation. But we're just talking about asset prices, right? The cost of living. Um, imagine back then if the bubble didn't go bust, if the goal, like now, if the goal back then was going to be slower inflation, right? That would have meant that prices wouldn't have come down. Prices would have just kept going up, but at a slower pace, disinflation, right? That's not what we need. No, we need deflation. We need a correction. We need a correction. The cost of living, and going back to the housing market, the unaffordability at this point is at an all-time high. Homes have never been this far detached from personal income and wages. This is down in Florida. This is out of ABC. Florida, people in this county, and not just there, but people in this county are struggling with inflation and housing costs. Voters don't trust either party to fix it. Yeah, I think those people, you think they might be onto something, right? No party is actually talking about really fixing the problem. They're saying it's going to be less bad. In different words, they're saying it's going to be less bad than what we have now. We don't need less bad. We need actually better. You could say that less bad is better. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. Another retail theft consequence here. Retail crime queenpin faces 5 years in prison. That's it, just 5 years for being a retail crime. Let me say it here: a retail crime queenpin. I'm just trying to read the headline. CNBC: the leader of a nationwide retail crime operation faces 5 years and 4 months in state prison, must pay millions in restitution. So that's your slap on the wrist, folks. I mean, 5 years, yeah, it's a long time. But if you're a leader, if you're a queenpin of a multi-million-dollar nationwide theft ring that targets retail stores, shouldn't you get more than 5 years? So if she's only getting 5 years, what do the people get that actually are just stealing, $500, $1,000 worth of things? Slap on the wrist, literally. I mean, they might not even get anything. So there's the problem, folks, and we've got more stores closing down. In fact, even DC, the source of the problem, is not immune to the situation with stores closing because of retail theft here. All right, on this note here, we've got out of Fox 5, Lululemon. I've never been there. I've heard of it. Lululemon closes another DC store amid string of thefts. So even DC, the source of the problem, is feeling it here, and that's not completely covering all this because a lot of the policies are done state to state and even city to city on how lenient or how harsh they're going to treat these people that are trying to steal these things from the stores. But we're all, people that actually pay for our merchandise, we're all paying for this with higher prices, right? So this is part, not all, but this is part of the inflation problem. When you have more poor people, more people that just can't afford things, you can have more people stealing stuff, right? Very, very simple and just common sense. Speaking of that, here we've got the Dollar Tree stock plunging after earnings miss and announcement of more store closings. Even the Dollar Tree, well, went from $1 to $1.25 tree. They didn't change the name, but they changed the price, and they still missed earnings. So one, they're going to have to raise it to $1.50 tree. They won't change the name, but raise the price. And they're going to need to stop these thefts. And if the kingpin is only getting 5 years, I don't think that's going to be much of a scare for people not to engage in this type of activity. So expect prices to go up even higher, folks. I think it's going to get worse here. All right, let's shift gears now. We've got office vacancies getting worse. A lot of people say I'm wrong. Not a lot, some. Some people say I'm doom and gloom, that I'm wrong, that I'm over exaggerating when I say that things are going to get worse. Well, every time we look at the news, every time we look at the reports, things get worse. Suburban office vacancies, another record high. Just came out a couple days ago. amount of empty space continues to grow. So is that another sign of a strong, resilient economy and a strong consumer? Is office vacancies continue to grow? Is there a health crisis going on right now? Are people afraid to go to work and they want to work at home because of a health crisis? I thought that was over with. Huh. So I guess there's not really an excuse or a cover for why this is happening. That was the cover of the past few years, if you remember. People wanted to work at home because of the health scare, or some of them had to because offices shut down. Well, it's continuing, and now is it the big drop off in demand because so many consumers are maxed out or close to being maxed out on their credit cards, and it's going to get crazier. I can guarantee you that. Here's another silly headline here. It wouldn't be silly if so many people. Um, it wouldn't be so silly if so many people didn't believe this here. Downshifting U.S. inflation will help reassure the Fed. So here's going to be more talks of rate cuts. Bank of Canada may cut rates. Bank of Canada, where home prices are even higher than they are here in the U.S., but yet they're talking about cutting rates up there. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's some problems that they don't want to admit to, and that's why they're using terms like downshifting inflation. It means prices are still going up, becoming more expensive, just not as bad as before, right? And if you think somebody's going to change it in November, please let me know why and what's going to happen, like what policy is going to be put in place, because I don't see it, folks. I'm not excited about the right or the left choices in this case, and I don't think I've ever been. Um, since I've known or since I've learned how all this works, I've never been excited about, oh, that party's going to fix it, that party's going to fix it. Take a listen to what Jerome Powell said. This is a senator from, I believe, Alabama. Listen to her question and listen to his response.
Mr. Chairman. Chair Powell, thank you for being with us today. My colleague from Maryland actually just touched on something, but as I was listening to the exchange from my colleague from Massachusetts and her closing remarks, particularly about Dodd-Frank and 956, there was also a comment at the end where she mentioned you working for giant banks versus the American people. Now, I have a long list of questions I want to talk to you about, but I did want to get you to respond to that.
Yeah, that's completely untrue. The things that we're doing are consistent with our international obligations, and they're meant to be.
Did you hear the question? You work for giant banks and not the people, and he says it's untrue. Let me rewind it.
Did want to get you to respond to that.
Yeah, that's completely untrue. The things that we're doing are.
Of course, he's going to say it's untrue. Is he going to admit to it being true? Yep, you got me. It's true. Fire me now. Nobody's going to say that.
Are consistent with our international obligations, and they're meant to be the best thing for the American economy, and that's really our only consideration. We have policy differences across various things, but we're all trying to achieve the best results we can for the people that we serve.
Absolutely, thank you. Chair Powell, I have repeatedly talked about my concern with long-term debt proposal.
All right, so you guys get the picture. So basically, a bunch of ridiculousness. Is he working for the people? You let me know. Unaffordability at all-time highs right now in the housing market. We know what policies cause it. Rock bottom interest rates, record money creation, banks loaning out money that actually don't even have the money, zero reserve requirements, folks. All those things can be changed at the stroke of a pen. Prices would come down. We would see deflation. Affordability would resume. New home buyers would enter the market, people that can't afford a home right now. Folks, it could all be fixed at the stroke of a pen. Now, is this all their fault? No, it's also people's fault for not paying attention, for putting up with this nonsense, for spending money like crazy. But when you look at it, people actually are smart for spending money, because if you don't buy something now and the price goes up, then you're going to pay more down the road. And I'm talking about people that jumped into the housing market, right? Will this continue? I don't think so. I think there's going to be something massive coming very, very soon. Here's a message of hope for people that continue to say I'm doom and gloom. Right around the corner, I think we're in for some big, big changes. I think some things you're going to see play out over the next few months are going to be shocking. And I've said here, this second half of this year is going to be shocking. We've already seen a lot of shocking things unfold just in the past few weeks. It's going to get even more shocking, folks. Hold on to your seatbelt. You're going to see, I almost use the word drama. You're going to see some veil pulled back from this financial system, from a lot of big players like BlackRock. You're going to see some shocking things come out about what they've been involved with. And there's been some chatter in the news, about different things that I'll leave it up to you. But the bottom line is, get ready. It's going to be wild, wild times. The next few months, I'm not talking about next year, 5 years from now. this year, 2024. Fasten your seatbelts, get ready, and let me know what you think about this down in the comments, folks. Warren Buffett's insider selling, about 4% of his holding of the Bank of America, not a huge deal. Jerome Powell, you heard him, working for the people. What do you think about that? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know what you think down in the comments, people. Make sure you subscribe, come back for more. Keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.